You've probably heard of the concept of paying yourself first, right? You've probably heard about the importance of saving money. You've probably heard all the standard Western financial advice about budgeting and cutting expenses and living below your means. But here's what most people don't realize. There's an ancient Chinese financial principle that's way more powerful than all of that advice combined, and it's been used for thousands of years to build generational wealth. It's so simple that most people overlook it. It's so powerful that when you actually implement it, it transforms your entire financial life. And the crazy part is that most Americans have never even heard of it. They're out there struggling with their finances, working hard, making decent money, and they're still broke because they don't understand this one principle. But if you understand this principle, if you actually apply it, you can build serious wealth without having to cut your lifestyle or live like a monk or do anything extreme. My name is Clarence, and I've spent way too much time studying different financial systems and wealth-building principles from around the world. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And what I've discovered is that some of the most powerful financial principles come from cultures that have been building wealth for thousands of years. The Chinese, in particular, have a philosophy about money and wealth that is fundamentally different from the Western approach, and it's way more effective. This philosophy is not complicated, it's not sophisticated, it's actually incredibly simple. But when you understand it and you apply it, it changes everything. And I'm going to explain exactly what it is and how you can use it to build wealth regardless of where you're starting from. The principle I'm talking about is called the law of attraction for money. But more specifically, it's based on the concept of the 5 essential financial pillars that have been used in Chinese culture for millennia. These 5 pillars are essential, saving, investing, borrowing, and protecting. But here's where it gets interesting, and here's where most Western financial advice falls short. The Chinese understanding of these 5 pillars is fundamentally different from how Western culture approaches them. The Western approach is to work hard, earn money, spend money on what you want, and save whatever is left over, which is usually nothing. The Chinese approach is completely different. It's based on the principle that money is energy, and you need to manage it properly in order to attract more of it. But before I explain the specific rule, I want to talk about the philosophy behind it. In Chinese culture, there's this concept called Feng Shui, which literally means wind and water. It's often understood in the West as interior design, but it's actually way deeper than that. It's a philosophy about how energy flows through space and how you can optimize that flow. And one of the key principles of Feng Shui is that money is energy, and you need to treat it with respect and manage it carefully in order for it to multiply. If you're careless with money, if you're sloppy with it, if you don't respect it, then money will flow away from you. But if you treat money with respect, if you're intentional about how you manage it, if you understand its power, then money will flow toward you and multiply. Now, the specific rule I'm talking about is called the law of giving, and it's based on the principle that in order to attract wealth, you first need to give wealth away. I know this sounds counterintuitive. I know it sounds like the opposite of what you should be doing if you want to build wealth. But stick with me, because this is where the real power is. The principle is that if you want to attract money into your life, you need to circulate money. You need to use it. You need to spend it. You need to give it away. If you hoard money, if you just save it and never use it, then you're blocking the flow of energy. But if you circulate money, if you use it to help others, if you invest it in things, if you create value with it, then you're allowing it to flow, and more will come back to you. Now, this doesn't mean you should be wasteful or reckless with money. It means you need to be intentional about how you circulate it. In Chinese culture, there's a specific ratio that's been proven to work incredibly well for building wealth over time. And that ratio is the rule of 10 and 1. The rule of 10 and 1 means that for every 10 units of money you earn, 1 unit should be given away or circulated back into society. So if you earn $10,000, $1,000 should go to giving, to investing, to creating value, to helping others. The remaining $9,000 is for you to live on and save and invest as you see fit. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that you barely make enough money to cover your expenses right now, and you can't afford to give away 10% of your income. But here's the thing that's really important to understand. The people who implement this rule are not the ones who start out wealthy. They're the ones who start out broke, just like you. They implement this rule, and over time, their wealth grows exponentially. The reason is that when you commit to circulating money, when you commit to giving, when you commit to using money intentionally, you're sending a signal to the universe, to your subconscious, and to the people around you that you understand the value of money and that you're willing to let it flow. Let me explain the mechanism behind this because I want you to understand that this is not magic or wishful thinking. This is actually based on solid principles of psychology, behavior, and economics. First, when you commit to giving away 10% of your income, you're forced to become more disciplined about how you spend the other 90%. You can't be wasteful because you know that money is valuable and you've committed to giving some of it away. So you naturally become more mindful about your spending. You naturally waste less. You naturally find ways to be more efficient with your money. This alone saves you money and allows you to build wealth faster. Second, when you give money away, when you invest in others, when you create value for society, people remember that. People want to work with you. People want to do business with you. People want to help you succeed. So by giving, you're actually building social capital, which translates into financial capital. You're building relationships that will pay dividends for years to come. Some of the most successful people in the world have built their wealth not just through their own hard work, but through the relationships they've built and the value they've created for others. Third, when you give money away, when you invest it in education or in helping others, you're often investing in things that create returns. You're investing in human capital. You're investing in relationships. You're investing in knowledge. These things often have returns that far exceed the original investment. $1,000 invested in someone's education might come back as a business opportunity worth $100,000 years later. $1,000 given to help someone in need might come back as loyalty and support when you need it most. These are not guaranteed returns, but they're often far better than putting money in a savings account. Fourth, when you're giving away money, you're training your brain to think in abundance rather than scarcity. Most people think in scarcity. They think there's not enough money. They think they can't afford to give. They think they need to hoard every dollar. But when you commit to giving away 10%, you're training your brain to think like someone who has enough. You're training your brain to think in abundance. And your brain is incredibly powerful. If you think like someone who has abundance, you'll start to see opportunities for abundance. You'll make different decisions. You'll take different actions. And those different actions lead to different results. Now, the rule of 10 and 1 is not necessarily saying that the 10% has to go to charity or religious institutions, although that's certainly one option. It means 10% should be circulated back into society in some way. It could be through charitable giving. It could be through investing in others. It could be through starting a business that creates value. It could be through giving gifts or helping family members or mentoring someone. The key is that the money is being used to create value or help others. It's not being spent on yourself. It's not being hoarded. It's being circulated. Here's a practical example of how this works. Let's say you make $100,000 a year. According to the rule of 10 and 1, you would give away $10,000. That's $1,000 per month. Now, for most people, $1,000 per month sounds like a lot to give away. But let's think about it differently. If you make $100,000 a year, and you're like most Americans, you're probably spending $80,000 to $90,000 on your lifestyle. You're probably not saving or investing anything. So by implementing this rule, you're not actually giving up that much. You're giving away 10%, and the remaining 90% is for you. If you're disciplined about it, if you're intentional about it, you should be able to live comfortably on 90% of your income and still give away 10%. But here's where it gets interesting. Once you start giving away 10% and living on 90%, you're forced to save. You're forced to be disciplined. And that discipline allows you to start building wealth. After a year of giving away 10% and living on 90%, you've given away $10,000. But you've also probably built some savings. You've probably built some investments. You've probably built some relationships. And you've trained your brain to think in abundance instead of scarcity. Now, let's say your income grows. Let's say you get a raise and you're now making $110,000. If you follow the rule of 10 and 1, you give away $11,000 and you live on $99,000. You've given away more money, but you're also living better. You've increased your lifestyle a little bit, but not proportionally with your income increase. So the gap between what you earn and what you spend is growing. That gap is what becomes wealth. Over time, as your income grows and you maintain the discipline of the rule of 10 and 1, the gap between what you earn and what you spend continues to grow, and your wealth accelerates. But even more importantly than that, by consistently giving away 10%, you're creating positive karma, building relationships, investing in people, and creating value. And all of that comes back to you in ways you can't even predict. Someone you helped 5 years ago might introduce you to a business opportunity. Someone you mentored might become incredibly successful and credit you for helping them. An investment you made in a young person might turn into a partnership that makes you wealthy. These are the things that most people don't account for when they're calculating their returns, but they're often the biggest source of wealth creation. Now, I know there's going to be some skepticism about this. Some people are going to say this is not scientific. Some people are going to say this is based on luck or superstition. But here's what I'll tell you. The most successful people in the world, across all cultures, share this practice. Bill Gates gives away more money through his foundation than most people earn in a lifetime. Warren Buffett has committed to giving away 99% of his wealth. Steve Jobs believed in giving back. Jeff Bezos has established charitable organizations. These people have not become wealthy despite giving money away. They've become wealthy, in part, because they understand the power of circulation and giving. They understand that money is energy, and it needs to flow. They understand that the more you give, the more comes back to you. The rule of 10 and 1 is not just about giving away money. It's about developing a mindset of abundance, of generosity, of intentionality, of circulation. It's about understanding that money is not something to be hoarded, but something to be used wisely to create value and help others. It's about understanding that the more you give, the more you receive. It's about understanding that wealth is not just about how much money you have, but about how much value you create and how many people you help. It's about understanding that the universe, or God, or the laws of economics, or whatever you believe in, rewards generosity and abundance thinking, and punishes scarcity and hoarding. The practical implementation of this rule is actually quite simple. The first step is to calculate 10% of your annual income. If you make $50,000 a year, that's $5,000. If you make $100,000 a year, that's $10,000. If you make $200,000 a year, that's $20,000. The second step is to set up an automatic transfer of that amount each month or each year to give away or circulate back into society. You could set it up as a donation to a charity you care about. You could set it up as an investment in someone else's business. You could set it up as mentoring an investment in a young person. You could set it up as a gift to family members. The key is that it's automatic and it's consistent. The third step is to live on the remaining 90%. This is where discipline comes in. You need to create a budget and stick to it. You need to spend money intentionally. You need to track your expenses. You need to make sure you're not overspending and staying within your 90%. The fourth step is to pay attention to what comes back to you. Notice the opportunities. Notice the relationships. Notice the luck. Notice how things start to flow to you when you're in a mindset of abundance and circulation. Keep a journal if you want to. Track the things that come back to you as a result of your giving and investing in others. This reinforces the belief and trains your brain to keep doing it. The fifth step is to adjust as your income grows. As you earn more, you give away more. Your lifestyle might increase a little bit, but not proportionally. The gap between what you earn and what you spend continues to grow. This is where wealth accelerates. Most people do the opposite. Most people's spending increases proportionally with their income. As they earn more, they spend more. They buy bigger houses, nicer cars, more expensive clothes. Their standard of living rises with their income, so they never actually build wealth. But if you implement the rule of 10 and 1, if you commit to giving away 10% and disciplining your spending, then as your income grows, your wealth accelerates. Here's the really beautiful part about this rule. It works regardless of your starting income. You don't have to be rich to implement it. You don't have to have a high income. A person making $30,000 a year can implement this rule just as well as someone making $300,000 a year. In fact, I would argue that it's more powerful for people making less money because the discipline and the mindset shift are more dramatic. When you're making $30,000 a year and you commit to giving away $3,000, you're making a real sacrifice. You're really believing in this principle. And that belief, that commitment, that's what creates the shift that leads to wealth. Now, let me address some common objections to this rule. The first objection is that you can't afford to give away 10% of your income. My response to that is that you can't afford not to. If you don't implement this rule, if you don't become intentional about how you manage your money, if you don't start circulating money and building relationships and investing in people, then you're going to stay poor. You're going to stay stuck. You're going to keep wondering why you're not building wealth. But if you implement this rule, if you're willing to sacrifice 10% to gain the mindset, the discipline, and the relationships that come with it, then you're putting yourself on the path to wealth. And over time, that 10% you give away is going to come back to you many times over. The second objection is that this is not scientific or that it's based on luck. My response to that is that psychology is real. Behavior change is real. Relationship building is real. Social capital is real. All of these things have been studied and proven. The fact that you're also developing a mindset of abundance, the fact that you're circulating money, the fact that you're building relationships, these are all things that have been proven to correlate with wealth. So even if you don't believe in the mystical or spiritual aspects of the rule, you can believe in the practical, psychological, and relational aspects of it. The third objection is that you should pay off debt before you give away money. My response to that is that these two things are not mutually exclusive. You can pay off debt and give away 10%. In fact, I would argue that you should do both. If you're paying off debt while also giving away 10%, you're sending powerful signals to your subconscious and to the universe that you're serious about managing your money. You're developing discipline. You're developing the mindset of abundance, even while you're dealing with the scarcity of debt. And often, by developing this mindset and implementing this rule, you'll find ways to earn more money or be more efficient, which allows you to pay off debt faster. The fourth objection is that this only works for wealthy people or people in certain cultures. My response to that is that this rule has been used successfully by people in all income levels and all cultures. Wealthy people use it and become more wealthy. Poor people use it and move out of poverty. The rule is universal. It works because it's based on fundamental principles of human psychology and economics, not on luck or privilege. The fifth objection is that you don't know where to give the money or how to give it away effectively. My response to that is that it doesn't have to be complicated. You can give to a charity you care about. You can invest in a friend's business. You can help a family member. You can mentor a young person. You can start a small business that creates value for others. The key is that you're conscious and intentional about it. You're not just throwing money away. You're using it to create value or help others. So here's what I want you to do. First, calculate 10% of your annual income. Write it down. Make it real. Second, decide where you're going to give that money. Are you going to donate to charity? Are you going to invest in someone's business? Are you going to mentor and invest in a young person? Are you going to help family members? Decide and commit. Third, set up an automatic transfer so that the money is given away or invested before you have a chance to spend it on yourself. Fourth, create a budget for the remaining 90% and stick to it. Fifth, pay attention to what comes back to you. Notice the opportunities, the relationships, the luck. Keep a journal. Reinforce the belief. Over time, you'll see the magic of this rule. You'll see how money starts to flow to you. You'll see how opportunities appear. You'll see how relationships deepen. And you'll wonder why you didn't implement this rule earlier. The Chinese rule that builds wealth is not complicated. It's not sophisticated. It's just the rule of 10 and 1. Give away 10%. Live on 90%. Be disciplined. Be intentional. Be generous. Circulate money. Build relationships. Create value. And watch as wealth flows to you. This is how the wealthy build and maintain wealth. This is how cultures that have been building wealth for thousands of years do it. And now you know the secret. The question is, are you going to implement it? That was your friend Clarence Capital. Don't forget, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Check out the next video. Take care of yourself, your finances, and most importantly, your time. Good luck.